to my right is Anne Alexis. Anne has a bachelor's degree in psychology and a master's in speech language pathology, and she is a speech therapist at St. Francis de Sales School for the Deaf for the past 25 years. She also worked with deaf, blind, multi-handicapped.
Too.
And Anne is the creator of much of the materials that you were playing with today. Tell your trouble story.
Okay, so I have this kid. He gets into a lot of trouble. And, so he's one that his goal, or the teacher's goal for him, is for him to, cooperate.
He not get into trouble.
He has a hard time cooperating, and then so he doesn't follow the rules, and so he gets into a lot of trouble. So he walks in. He doesn't listen to the rules. He doesn't follow anything. He just does what he wants to do.
Even in your playful environment.
Even in my playful environment. So at first he had a very hard time with me being silly. So I was just being silly, and he says, "Are you going to be in big trouble?" He said, "Maria Bartolillo is going to tell you." Maria Bartolillo is the principal. He says, "She's not going to like that." So he thinks being silly is not allowed, because his goal is he's all over the place. So we want him to sit and pay attention and be quiet and listen and follow the rules. So being silly and dancing around is kind of breaking the rules. So he's like, "Is that allowed? You're going to be in big trouble." So I said. So he walks in, and so he has a behavior chart. He has a chart with happy faces or sad faces. And so he carries it with him throughout the day. And he gets a reward at the end, if he gets a lot of happy faces. That means he has good behavior and he followed the rules. So, so he wasn't doing it. I said, "Okay, your decision, what do you think I should put on this chart?" So I said, "You're looking for trouble. These things come. These are sayings."
Your mother said.
Yeah, we use these sayings all the time. I said, "You're looking for big trouble. It's nice outside, and I'm sure you don't want to have detention, and I'm sure you want to go outside to play." So I said, "Oh, why? He's driving me crazy. Why don't I have some fun with this too?" So I said, I got an index card, 2 index cards. And I wrote trouble in big, bold letters, capital letters. And then I wrote trouble in little lowercase letters. And he has a problem with spelling too, because his attention is very fleeting. So I said, "Okay, let's look at these 2 words. This is big trouble. This is little trouble. And so we spelled it. Okay. So I said, "Okay, go outside." And I hid trouble all over the room. And I said, "Okay, come on. Let's go looking for trouble." So he went, so he was having fun. So another speech therapist walks by and she sees him, so she's like, she knows that he's supposed to be following the rules. So she's like, "What are you doing?" So he said, "I'm looking for trouble." So he found it. He found trouble, and so then he had to. We're also working on prepositions and language, everything. I use everything as a language development. Everything is as a learning opportunity. So there's big trouble and little trouble. So I said, "Okay." He came back. I found it. Okay, found big trouble. So I said, "Okay, now we have big trouble. How do we get that? How do we get big trouble?" Then he actually, thought about it. I said, "Your homework now is to figure out how we're going to get out of this trouble. Because we don't really want it. We want to get rid of it." So he came back. He said, "I did my homework. And so he said, "Big trouble." When we just saw last week, we went to the theater, Helen Keller, the Miracle Maker. So he said, "Let's talk about Helen Keller. She was in big trouble. She was not following the rules. She was was slapping her mother, big trouble. So we wrote a list of the big trouble, the things that she did that were big trouble. This is Justin.
They work with her.
Big trouble behavior and a little trouble behavior, you know, crumbling the cookie on the table. But big trouble was kicking the father and slapping the mother, locking the teacher in the room. And and then we talked about the process of, okay, what can we do to get out of trouble? What can we do to not be in big trouble? And so everything, and he was really processing it, and you know, he learned a lot from it. You know, that's how I get my measurement. That's what
I'm trying to say.
What I love about that story is the playing with what is. It's like it's not waiting for things to be different, but the taking what is and playing with it.
And he actually learned to spell trouble too, which is a big bonus. Because, you know, he's having a hard time even with 3 letters, you know, processing, you know, remembering the spelling, but he was able to spell. We found trouble all over the place, and he was able to write it and listen to it and say it, and you know, so.
Yeah. I was thinking one of the, I'm concerned about saying this because it's too causal, which I don't mean it to be, but I was thinking that one of the discoveries I feel like we've made about human development and learning and their relationship is that in growing in bigger ways, right, not just growing in the little ways school asks you to grow, but in all the cultural, social ways, actually often creates a need and a desire to learn in a way that eliminates so many of the problems that the people are having learning those things in the absence of growth. And it's not, why I said I was concerned is it's not as if I think, oh, Anne did this great developmental activity and now he could learn these words, but I do think it opens up the possibility. When you're around people who are growing, learning is not as very difficult a task often. It's not, the things we need to learn are much less challenging than the growth that can open up the doors for those things. So that's what